feeling alone at home is not correct in any circumstances. If you're a job seeker, if you have a job and you just arrived, so seek for support and help. You're not alone. So whatever is your situation, you will find the right service of association, of group of people that are able to support you.
Oh, it's a sunny day today, and I don't mind to stay with you under the sun. Oh, under the sun.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 6th episode of Radio Turku, summer edition. Welcome to Turku, the Paris of the North without the Parisian. And here an episode about work culture in Turku. And for this we have our usual hosts, Noemi and
Simon.
our guests today are Ann and Lucia.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you present yourself shortly? Maybe Ann can start. You're both really polite.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Ann. I'm a postdoctoral researcher in the English department here at Akademi, and I arrived about 2 years ago.
Lucia.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lucia. I'm Italian. I arrived 6 years ago in Turku. It's a long time now. I am Director of Operation of International Working Women of Finland Association, and other half of my job is Communication and Marketing Manager for hat designer company.
Hat designer.
Yes, super cool.
So do you do the promotion of the hats to help them sell the hats? Or?
Exactly. So they design and produce those hats in Tuscany, in Italy. And then they have like shops around the world, and I help them with the communication and the marketing.
Okay, so international brand.
Yes.
Whoa.
And
Important people here.
I have another question for Anne. Can you tell us a bit about the topic of your thesis?
Well, you mean when I was doing my PhD?
Yeah.
So just a little bit about my background.
Yeah.
I grew up in Hong Kong, and then I went to Canada for my master's degree and later my PhD. My PhD was about London, England, but now I'm writing another study comparing different world cities and how they respond to crises. And that's my postdoc.
Where in Canada?
All over. So I landed in BC, and then I went to Ontario, and then I worked in Alberta for 2 years.
Okay, because the hat designer I was talking about, one of the shops is in Vancouver.
Nice.
Ah,
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Connections.
I've never been. I really want to go one day.
Well, I guess it's not that different from Finland, is it?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Can you compare the
Is
weather?
is it a big difference?
Well, I would say in Canada it's colder because
Okay.
maybe I've just been very lucky in Finland because so far, I don't know, it's about minus 20 during winter.
Oh, we got
Right?
minus 30.
Yeah, but usually just for a few days. It's
Yeah,
never for an
okay.
extended period of time, like a whole week or something like that.
You mean when you were in Canada, it was like minus 20, but like for
Yeah.
a whole winter.
Well, not like that.
Oh my God, I don't want to go to Canada
Crazy.
anymore.
Well, it's like minus 30 for 1 week and then 0 for another week, and then we are back down to minus 30, something like that.
And then
Okay.
people complain that Finland is cold.
Well, I've been to Toronto, but in the summer, so I cannot compare.
Yeah, this is a bit cheating. It's not real Canada.
Yeah, Finland is a lot nicer in the summer.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I love it.
Nice to know.
Okay. To introduce the vocabulary of workplace, I prepared a small game. It's the workplace slang game. This is the title. So when I arrived to Finland, I discovered some terms. Try to define them. Then we will give points to who knows the most. For example, what is Zoom fatigue? This is the example. I think everyone can guess the meaning of Zoom fatigue.
Yes. Well, I've been a lot on Zoom, so I think I'm one of the one that has been affected by the Zoom fatigue, that you spend a lot of time that usually you spend interacting face-to-face to people, and then eventually just see them in the screen. And with the International Working Women of Finland, we actually starting to support international women when the COVID started. So we moved everything online, and we were one of the first association to provide support and work-related workshops in Zoom. So yes, Zoom fatigue is really
Even more
a
Zoom for
thing.
you.
And now it's like a bit decreased compared to the COVID time, but still people prefer to have like Zoom meeting instead of like even in the same city, just take a car, go to a bar and have a discussion or like in a workplace. So
Yeah, what I don't understand is that in some companies you need to go to your workplace in order to have a Zoom meeting with people on the other side of the world, and then you come back home. So why can't you have the Zoom meeting at home?
yeah, that's it. Policies, company policies.
What were you going to add, Anne?
No, I was just going to ask if anyone actually prefers to have Zoom meetings.
Well, like personally, for example,
Yeah.
I find it handy because having like be the mother of three and juggle between workplace and children and activity. So it's easier just to connect, have like that hour and then disconnect instead of like getting ready, make up, be presentable, go into a meeting and come back, find a parking in Turku is becoming really a thing. And then, yeah, you know, it's easier. But then you enter in this fatigue zone that you feel that you're not being talking to people on the screen all day and not actually having those little human interaction that you don't have when you have a line, like going for a coffee or who smoke, go for a cigarette, like, and allowed you to have like more personal interactions.
So I guess everyone guessed the meaning of
The
yours.
Zoom fatigue.
Yeah. And then I have something a bit related to it. What is workation?
So you're on vacation, but you're working at the same time.
Yeah.
But during COVID times, people don't necessarily have to work in their home offices, in their home countries anymore. So workation.
Yeah, I didn't know that
That's
word.
basically my life. I never have a vacation, but I'm never fully at work. It's just workation. It's a
permanent,
way of life. Yeah,
yeah,
a lot
it's
of
a
people
way.
would say it's not super healthy for the mind, but
It's a philosophy.
sometimes that's where the work is.
Well,
Yeah.
France was the first country who put a regulation on work hours, even if you work remotely.
That you cannot receive emails
Yes,
after
exactly.
work.
The right to disconnect.
Yeah.
Well, other countries are not so advanced, unfortunately, and then you have this like hybrid work and being on vacation, which is not healthy at all.
For sure. Cocorico. Well done, France.
Cocorico.
For once. A bit related to it, what is gig economy?
I was just going to say, as an academic from North America, I can speak about that. Is it kind of like working sessionally on a part-time basis over a long period of time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that gig would be like music gig. Gig economy, like how all the concerts support the economy, and we need more concerts and
The concert economy.
Like Taylor Swift that
Yeah.
incremented the appeal of US thanks to her concerts.
Really?
What is
Yes. I just read an article a few days ago that the US pill has been growing up, and one of the factor was even Taylor Swift concerts.
Wow.
So she's actually contributing
Yes.
to the wealth.
It's
of
crazy.
So now we create a new term, Swift
So
economy.
The actual,
That sounds nice, actually. But yeah, I was thinking of Simon for this because it's also for freelance worker. It's basically that you have always short term and you can't really organize your future because everything is unpredictable. You have only these small tasks and you don't know if you will get a job after or...
yeah, that's actually the connection with the music and the concert. Actually, it's a gig. It's a gig. You're just doing a gig, and that's really what I feel. Sometimes I have project for a day, sometimes for 2 months, and you have to adapt to that.
Because can you explain your job, Simon?
So I'm a linguistics consultant. My clients, usually big companies, they need people to explain them how the language works. In my case, the French language, sometimes the English language. And the goal is very often associated with translation and automatic linguistic, whatever. NLP, you know what NLP means? Like
No.
automated. NLP, natural language processing. Yeah.
What does it
So-
consist of? You need to give me a simple term definition because I'm lost.
NLP is anything related to computer and internet that has to do with language.
Okay.
So it can be something really basic, like, something that you use every day, like automatic translation, like Google Translate. And it can be things more complicated, like corpus analysis, like, you put a big corpus in a machine and it detects which word comes more often, and then you use this in your research for something, blah, blah, blah.
A bit what they use for ChatGPT, basically.
ChatGPT is basically, it's NLP engineering at its best. What we do is very much linked to artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence and such algorithm, they really need to understand the language in which you talk to them in order for them to work. And so that's one of my jobs, is to help the people who make these programs understand better what they do.
The magic of language.
Yes.
And I have a last word, micromanaging, that I discovered this week. Who knows what is micromanaging?
Or maybe we can try. When basically your boss doesn't allow you to perform your task freely, but it intervenes frequently all the time in order to check what you actually are doing and performing. But that can cause a lot of stress because people don't have the freedom to perform what they are hired to do, because those kind of bosses don't allow it. So, and it's really a problem nowadays, because a lot of, unfortunately, companies put people that are not up to the task. Maybe they know how to do things, but they don't know how to manage people. So there are two different roles, in my opinion. So the fact that you are able to do their job doesn't mean that you are able actually to manage people to do the same actual job. So there needs more training, more company culture, and in order to create a better atmosphere at work.
Then we will move on to the second part of this episode. I have a few questions for you, and actually a bit more specific because only one of us is really working for Turku. So, Anna, since you are the representative of Turku work life, can you tell us how did you get a job in Turku, and why did you decide to accept this offer?
Well, first of all, I can't say that I'm the representative.
Yes, you are now.
There you are.
The pressure.
Okay, I'm a researcher, so that means I lock myself in my office all day long to get my writing done. So that's not exactly very interactive, although there are interactive moments. But to get back to your question, which was...
How did you get a job in Turku, and why did you accept this offer?
Right, so I became interested in the position because of my supervisor. His name is Jason, and he was one of the editors of my first book. And so
She has written a first book. That means there are plenty others coming.
hopefully, but anyway. So I wanted to work with him, so that's why I came. But I'm so glad I made that decision because I really like Finland. The only complaint is the weather. November, very dark. That's the only thing I'm not used to, but otherwise I love it here. I love how there's a dedicated lounge for staff to just sit around and chat, to have lunch or, well, not dinner. I was going to say dinner. Yeah. So stuff like that.
Okay, so you feel that there was more connection between colleagues than in Canada, for example?
Well, again, in Canada, I was a PhD student for a long time. And then after that, I worked at a college. At the college, I think my colleagues were just very focused on their very tight schedules. So there was a lounge for people to heat things up. So there's a microwave, there's a fridge, but that's about it. No seating,
Okay.
Yeah.
Less interaction. That's really interesting because Finland is known for having little interaction between people. So that's great.
But it's true that I often hear that at work, the lunchtime is a moment where people meet in companies. My friends, they often say it's too early, it's at 11, but at least I eat with my colleagues and we chat a bit. So this is, and they like to have lunches, like you were saying, in a lot of companies here in electricity, for example. They have a lot of this common space with a big table so people can join, and they often organize activities to make people meet. I was surprised.
All these electricity and data city, biocity, they're all like little towns.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. But more specifically for you then, Lucia, how did you decide to found your association and what kind of activities, meeting do you offer there?
Yes, so I don't work for Turku, but I help people getting job in Turku and the rest of Finland. So in 2019, actually, I started with another group of people, this association called International Working Women of Finland. And now it exploded. We reached 9,000 members, and we only accept international women living in Finland. And the aim of association is to support international women to integrate and find their work path here. Because statistics about international women compared, for example, to international men working-wise, they were a bit alarming. And women have a lot of more problems and barriers to access to the workplaces and to adapt. So with this group of, like, now I can call them friends, but back then were like unknown women who have the same interests as me, we decided what can we do about that. So we just, actually the founder is Galif, not big, she just pressed the start button on a Facebook group. And then from there it just escalated. And yes, so we found that there was a need, that women didn't know what to do, how to get in the workplaces, what kind of professional figure Finland was looking for, how could they, for example, look for those jobs. Because one of the facts that most of foreigners have to deal with is that like almost 90% of jobs in Finland are hidden.
Yeah, this I discovered with the Boost program that is offered at Akademi.
Yes.
Where they pair you with a Finnish person who is working since quite a while, and then you discover, oh my, it's only networking here.
Exactly.
Yeah, it only
Networking
works.
is one of the key words that you will hear over and over in Finland. So, like, for example, I was working when I arrived here in Finland, in Italy, and then I quit my job. And I was so naive, and I was thinking, I will land a job in no time. And I did not.
The frustration.
Did you think so? Because when you arrived here, you were told the same thing as me. Don't worry, there everyone speaks English. You will never have to learn Finnish. You will find a job super easily. There's a job in English all the time. Was this told to you? Because that was my big
the Finnish dream.
deception when I came here. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, I was more relying on my past experiences because I lived in Ireland for a while and lived in Spain, and then I thought, the economies look good. There are available jobs, and I have experience. I speak English, I hope, well enough. So why not? And why not? Then it was because it doesn't work like that. And I have to go through the hard way. So the valley of desolation that a lot of international women faces, that they are expecting to find a job quickly and move from where they left in the other countries, their careers. But the reality is that it takes 15 years to a woman to reach the same level of career that they have in another country.
What would you say is the main reason for that? You talk specifically about women, so is there a very sexist side to the Finnish work society, or is it completely different?
Maybe they're
related.
shyer.
No,
Yeah.
there are a lot of components here, and I will take 2 hours of your podcast to explain them all, but to try to summarize. Women most time are the first caregiver for children.
Yeah.
So so therefore they're looking after the children in the working age. This is one of the first obstacles. That's why we are promoting with the association a program for moms. So moms from home to work, to explain them how the society support you, etc. And then those women don't fall into what is called integration courses. So when you move to Finland, I'm sure you have heard that you have 3 years where you can go through the language course and then look for a job, and they support you in this. But if you are not unemployed, you don't qualify for such integration courses. So those women, they're not unemployed. They are caregivers, for example. And this is one of the problem. The other problem, and let's talk like frankly, is racism. Finland now finally is into the news, but we've been experienced as an association for a long time, is a racist country. So when you have the same kind of education and experience, but you have a foreigner name, then they will go automatically to the Finnish person, even if it's less qualified and less experienced. And those are one of the few of the causes that is preventing women to enter in the workplaces as fast as men and much slower as like other internationals. So it's a big problem. It is, and the previous government with Sanna Marin was addressing those issues, and they put a lot of money. You were mentioning Boost
Yeah.
here.
That will not be sponsored anymore, most likely.
Yes, because now the actual government has been cutting fundings in this support. So they acknowledge the problem and then try to support. And actually, the results were there because the gap of international women unemployed in Finland reduced in the last 2 years.
Wow.
So results
Super
were
efficient.
Yes, they were there. And what there was a funny thing that the Ministry of Economy comments is like, we don't know why.
I wonder.
You mean the current
Yes.
economy?
Yes. I'm like, well, let us explain you why. Because you put a lot of money, you put a lot of effort. Talent Boost was one of the association that were like International Working Women Finland is one of the many associations that is supporting internationally in the country. They put a lot of effort. They have a lot of contribution and fundings. It's a little bit similar to the gig economy they were talking about before. If you have fundings to do a project, then you will start. But those fundings have an end and a start and an end, a start and an end, a start and an end. And now the current government put a final end to everything. Yeah. So it's very difficult to support those women, and they feel isolated. They don't know how to interact. They don't know who to ask for help and support. Even just the request, like access to information is one of the key elements.
Really. Yeah, or even just joining unions. How do you go about that?
Exactly. Why? Like every economy is different, and Finland is unique, of course, in its own way. And trade unions here are playing important roles. But nobody, when you come from Migri, will tell you like, hey, by the way, as soon as you find a job, join the unions. Nor your colleagues will tell you. But it's one of the fundamental aspects of this economy. So as an association, what we are trying to promote is this kind of knowledge. So we have relationship with the unions, for example. They come and talk to our women. Or, for example, to the men, we try to organize mentoring programs similar to what Åbo is doing to pair Finnish or experiencing working people with people that are just coming out from university or just coming to the country. So the economy is strange in Finland compared to other countries, but you have to get to know it in order to crack the system and eventually land a job.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying about the unions, because I used to work in a restaurant in Turku as a waitress, and directly when we signed the contract, my boss, so she is Chinese, she told me, check this is the union, you can translate it here and you can find this short version in English. She directly told me about it, but maybe because she is a foreigner.
Exactly.
And now it's been decades that she is living in Finland, but it's one of the first things she told me when we signed the contract, actually.
Yeah, but I don't say that Finnish people don't want to tell you, but just give it for granted.
Yeah, and it's in Finnish. So.
Yeah, I have a Finnish husband, and he never looked for a job in his life. He just started to work when he was 18. He's in the Navy. He's still there, waiting to retire. But, he didn't know all those things. Like
yeah, it's a different status also, the
exactly.
army.
Why should I join the union? What is unemployment office? What is an integration course? What is hidden jobs? Which are the programs that can support you? What if you have a degree that is not recognized here, for example? What are the stages that you have to go through to recognize those studies? So it's complex. It's a complex system, and people feel overwhelmed most of the time.
Yeah.
I think that people from European Union are quite lucky, because when I arrived in Finland and tried to integrate in the work life, I found it hard as hell, and I was feeling like, okay, Finland is not easy for strangers. And I discovered later on that actually, compared to people coming from outside of the EU, I had it much easier.
Yeah, really.
So because I kind of feel like Finland is still, I hope with the current government it will stay that way, but they are still very pro-European Union. So Do you feel like it helps a lot, or
It is definitely. We are different class citizens. Europeans, like if Finnish is A, European are B, and the rest of the world is C.
yeah?
It's crazy. It's exactly what the girls of yesterday told. They say Finnish women are second class and women, international women or women of color are third class.
Yes. So they make it more complicated, and the current government, at least the immigration policy proposal they just issued, is not going to get any better because, for example, they cut by 3 the refugee status. So
We know who they are.
So it's not, unfortunately, it's not getting any brighter, the future for foreigners in Finland at the moment.
So we have to fight for it.
Yes, so that we are actually organizing a mass protest in Helsinki in the end of August.
Oh,
Yes.
join,
to know.
people, everyone, join.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's go demonstrate in Helsinki. What never happens in Finland.
But you Anne, coming actually from outside Europe, did you find it different if you have colleagues that are from European Union? Did you find some extra difficulties for you that they didn't have? Or was it made very easy for you?
For me, it's a little bit different because I work in an English department.
Yeah, in the academic field, I think.
Yeah.
Does not discriminate so much. I don't know, maybe.
There's that sense of isolation from the phenomenon that you're talking about. But I actually, the problems that we were discussing just now, I feel like they're not unique to Finland. These problems exist everywhere in Europe. And you see more conservative governments being voted in, people being more and more anti-immigration. And surprisingly, a lot of young Europeans are also, for some reason, against
Tell us
immigration.
about France.
I wonder why that is, because I don't understand. In Canada, at least, from what I understand, mostly younger people are like more liberal leaning, whereas here there is a difference. I'm just wondering why.
Well, it's called like historical waves, in my opinion. Government go left and right, left and right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
usually Europe is considered like one big wave. So what happens in a country influences the other country. So not a surprise I'm Italian and we have really racist government at the moment
Yeah,
as well.
Italy is crazy at the moment.
Yes, so I understand what you feel, but it's like the same story. When the economy is not going as good as you predict or as you wish, let's blame somebody or let's blame the foreigners because who else can they blame? So it's really like this. Racist feelings are really connected to the economy, in my point of view, because if the economy is going well and people don't have to stress and everything is good, then everybody's welcome. We have the big pie to share. But when the pie is getting smaller, then you want the pie only for yourself.
There's you said like, who can we blame apart from the stranger? If we cannot blame the foreigners, then we can blame the young people, because there was a book written not so long ago by a French academic explaining how older generation always blame the economic problem on the younger generation.
These millennials.
Yes, it actually makes me wonder in your work, Lucia, have you seen very clearly with these women you help a difference of treatment based on their age?
Actually, no, in Finland, I have to say, at least not personally. What I have experienced is the opposite problem. So when you're young, they feel that you can still be hired as internship or junior position. So it's easier for them to have like cheaper labor.
Cheap work, yeah.
Yes. So but this way, just enter the market and you integrate easily. When you are older and more experienced and you know your value, then they are more thinking if they want really to hire you, because then you know how much you value and you know how much you want to be paid and what are your rights and the trade unions. So you are more like conscious of what's going on. And that's the opposite problem of the scale. When you find yourself unemployed in an older age, then it's very, very difficult. There are a few associations, like for example, Familia RU, that's making webinars for older women in order to train them and support them to go back into the market after being unemployed. So it's quite the reverse,
Okay,
I have
yeah.
to say. But I understand what you're saying. Well, like at least in my own country, young people are lazy. They don't want to work.
It's always the view that
Yeah,
people have. Yeah,
Always on
And
TikTok.
and this study that I've read, this book about this French with this French academic, it's really saying that it's not coming from nowadays. You can, on the whole history of the world, every single century, it's always been the same talk about young people being the lazy one, and they are going to destroy the economy of a country. But yeah.
I wanted to ask you, because you were comparing to Italy, what are the differences that you noticed between work culture in Finland and work culture in Italy?
Well, one of the main difference is that the work here is quite homogeneous, while in Italy is very hierarchy. Yes, so the way you approach people is very different. Well, I worked for a long time in a military sector. So for companies that were working for the military, so they are very, your levels is quite scheduled.
Okay.
But even inside like private companies, so I would have to refer to my colleagues as like engineer Rossi or Vice President Ferrari, or is very like that. While here in Finland, titles matters a lot.
And family name, as I can hear, because in Finland people call each other by first name.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it was so disturbing for me at the beginning.
And for me too, when I arrived.
You call your boss, hey Jussi, what's up?
Yes, and professors.
Yeah, for
are
me it
there
was
another
so
league. In Italy, you're just to bend with references, like you meet the prince.
Dear professor.
Exactly. And I'm a bad student at Åbo Akademi myself. And when I started to write emails to professors like, Professor, blah, 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 blah. I learned the title, PhD researcher. And then he was like, Lucia. I was like, okay. I stopped.
Yeah, I see.
Then you see.
What are you studying actually in Åbo?
I should study, you said.
The revelation.
I'm missing a few credits in a Master of Digitalization.
Of what?
Okay.
Sorry?
Digitalization.
Oh,
It's
well.
very even hard to say. Can you imagine? I enrolled when I was pregnant, 7 months with twins, and I thought I can make it, but then eventually,
But life came.
happened. Yeah, then I started my own company, and then life happened. But
So the second baby after the twins.
yeah, no, I already
fourth
had one
one,
before.
Oh my.
Yes, so life happens, but I still didn't give up. We'll see.
But Han, did you have a similar feeling about this hierarchy in the work life?
Well, I mean, academia is by default hierarchical.
Yeah. Yeah, but the relationship between different people from different hierarchical status and.
But I can talk about my relationship with my students. I actually really enjoy teaching Finnish students because before I started, I was warned that, students here are very quiet, they don't talk. But I feel like it's about how they feel about the instructor, right? So if the instructor is kind of like intimidating, always perceived as authoritative, then naturally students don't feel as inclined to talk. But if you're willing to be formal, and sometimes it's just some simple gestures that you can make, like bring coffee into the classroom, sitting with the students, using informal language even. So that really got the students to open up. And so I've had a very good classroom dynamic going this semester, which does not happen for me very often. By the way. Yeah.
Did
That's
you
great.
teach in Canada before?
Yeah.
Or also in Hong Kong you never worked?
No, not in Hong Kong. I feel like that's also a cultural thing, going from Hong Kong to Canada. That was actually a big leap. So now that I'm teaching in Finland, it's like the difference is not as huge.
Yeah.
In Hong Kong, I mean, I was only ever a student there, but
But you can see with your parents and...
yeah, I was always asked to shut up, don't talk so much, let the adult do the talking.
You can also already feel it at home. No need to go to work.
Yeah, and when I was in high school, our school motto was always be a good, well-educated young lady, right? And that means sitting properly, not talking.
Yeah, because you were in this also religious school, no?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was only girls.
Oh, girls, yeah, Catholic, yeah.
Oy, oy.
Yeah, and then I went to Canada. It was a world of shock
Like
for me.
freedom.
People were talking so rapidly and I could never get a sentence in. Okay, firstly because I was scared, and secondly because people were talking so fast. And even now I'm not used to it. Like in Finland, I find that I'm like relatively talkative. But just a few months ago I went back to Canada for a conference, and there I actually could not get a lot in. But that sense of hierarchy that you mentioned, it's definitely everywhere. And this following comment is not directly related to that question, but I feel that racism in Finland is not how we normally perceive it. Because, say, in Canada, one time I was just walking down a street in Montreal. I was not saying anything. I was not doing anything special. I was just walking down the street. And this guy yelled something at me in French and threw coffee in my face.
Oi.
Oh my, okay.
And that was just last summer.
Nothing.
Last summer.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I was just walking.
But now, how did you react?
I was too shocked.
Yeah, I would be
Yeah.
super shocked.
Like, before I could say anything, he was gone. And, like, people walking around, they did not pay any attention. Like, it was so normal.
Oh my god. I would be
No,
so
but unfortunately, those episodes are getting more and more infrequent in Finland as well, because I read them daily nowadays.
Incidents
the
like this?
musta mies, musta naiset.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I've heard of this too.
Yeah, I have people who are not white, friends who are not white in Finland. So they were telling me that they experience racism regularly. They would obviously not know how to speak Finnish. They would be asking questions in English, and they would get very rude reactions. But I notice with me, when I speak English, people don't normally react in any negative way to me. But last year I had a guest visitor at the university, and she is from Hong Kong. She speaks Cantonese. And one time we were just walking around downtown. We were speaking in Cantonese, and there's this guy who looked at us and started covering his nose like he would catch COVID from us.
Oh my god.
Always a guy, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Okay, so yeah, as
crazy.
long as you speak English, you're safe.
Yeah.
That's kind of yeah.
Yeah, so it's not racism as I usually understood it. It's not just about the color of your skin.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when you are white and European, I think you don't experience at all the same thing in a foreign country because we are protected in a way.
Yeah, it happened to me once, but for the wrong reason, I guess. There was that woman in a gym that, for some reason, she's just decided that I was Turkish.
Ah, yes, I remember.
And for some reason, it's not okay. So she started to come to me and to ask me questions. So, what are you doing in Finland? You're not speaking Finnish. You're not really integrating well, or are you? Because you're from Turkey, right? And I'm like, no, I'm French. And suddenly, from the moment I said I was French, everything shifted, and it's like I have the same face, I speak the same way, but from the moment I am Turkish and the moment I am French, the behavior completely changed,
Yeah,
and she was
crazy.
super sweet and nice. So yeah.
Oh, I love baguette.
Yeah, exactly. So that's also,
Yeah.
sometimes people just decide they are putting a stereotype on you, even if,
It's such
They
a
just,
clear example.
yeah.
my
Talking about stereotypes and working culture, one of the biggest stereotypes that we like, Finnish people loves Italians. They're like,
Really?
oh yeah, all the
Yes.
food, the Aperol Spritz, the sea, everything is amazing.
12
there.
euros.
I do love all of those things.
So somehow, like when I said I'm Italian, I just have like this wow thing around me, which is nice. But then they immediately think like I'm lazy.
Oh,
Immediately,
okay.
like, and they think like, and they mix a lot like Spain and Italy and South America, and they go like, oh, do you do the siesta? Like, do I look Mexican?
Yeah. Are you cooking tacos every day?
Exactly. So
famous Italian taco.
Yeah.
they're a bit like confused, and
Yeah,
they
so-
say, and they speak to me in Spanish, which I understand. I reply when they're happy, and I'm happy. But actually, the working culture is so much different in Italy because here, 4 o'clock, they drop the pen
Yeah.
and they leave, which is great. If you have a family, they market in so much this work and like family balanced is one of the like the marketing hip of Finland. But in Italy, the working like if you drop the pen at 4 o'clock, you'll eventually be fired in a couple of days. It's not so how we do. Like, you finish what you have started during the day, and there is no like children obeys your family arrangements. There's nothing. So I was really used to work like long days. And then when I was organizing events, you never know if the CEO changes his mind. So you stay there until the last minute of the night before the event, because he can just change everything and he has the right to do it, you know. Well, here in Finland, like, I can see that, which is great, but there is so much stereotype. Like, they think that we are lazy, and I totally think the Finnish are a bit more lazy than Italians.
Big fight.
Yeah, because they have this huge respect to the hour and the schedule. Because like even when you meet a friend, it's the same. Like, I mean, Finnish friend, when they give you an hour to meet, it's better to be there when they tell you. While in France, I've had meetings with friends where people could be like half an hour or 1 hour late.
No, 1 hour more.
Yeah, 1 hour. So this is a big cultural shock. But yeah, I'm not surprised that it applies to work life, and probably the same with lunchtime at work. I imagine that if you have 1 hour of lunch at your work, you have to stop at this time, eat, and then like you've very much schedule for every single thing.
You know, we have rules and we do respect them, and we have like high working culture in Italy.
We are not lazy.
We are not lazy at all. I wish we were, but of course it doesn't. I mean, we are generalizing a lot here. There are lazy people all over Italy, but I mean, what I meant to say that here the stereotype of Italians taking siesta and being lazy.
I love this word.
Yes, and they just come to me and they assume it. So I can see that at the beginning when I start to work with Finnish people, after a while they come back to me and they say, "Oh, you are so precise and so organized and you work so much and you are Italian." I'm like,
Incredible.
thank you.
Yeah, that's actually the thing. When you come here, you just have to find out what is the cliche that people have about the people from your country, and then you work hard to be the opposite, and they will be even more extra happy and extra proud of you, and so maybe you can get a raise or something.
I was just going to say, the Chinese stereotype probably works in my favor because we're perceived as hard workers.
Yes, that's
yeah.
true.
Yeah, my mom worked at a Japanese company, and my brother is currently working in Tokyo. And they both tell me that part of Japanese culture is work culture, is to stay behind long after your official work hours. You must stay behind until your boss leaves. Yeah, you cannot
Same.
leave the office until the boss leaves.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that you're not actually doing anything productive.
Yeah.
Even if they're just playing with your nails, you just have to stay.
Yeah.
So
Have you seen those like the Japanese people? They are sleeping in their offices. Have you
Yeah.
seen this video?
So do you think that it can play in your favor in Finland to such a degree that if you
So
look
you
for
will
a
sleep
job,
in your office.
yeah, if you look for a job here, they will just say like, "Oh my God, she's Asian, so we have to hire her because she will work hard." You think it really
for
works?
sure.
Okay, yeah.
Look at me.
And actually, I had a different question for you, Simon, because you have it really depends. You are part of this gig economy. Can you tell us about the gig economy?
It's a very stressful kind of life because, yeah, you never know if next month you're gonna have a lot of project or not. You don't know if you're gonna end up having enough to pay your bill, but sometimes it's okay because the month before you had like the equivalent of 2 or 3 months in a row. So it's very like you really have to learn to balance throughout the whole year. You don't think in terms of week or month. You think in terms of a whole year. It's kind of stressful, but I chose that because I don't really like working in an office and in such work. Yeah, but I also chose this kind of life because it was much easier for me to integrate in Finland with that kind of work, because I've tried at some point to look for regular job in Finland. It took me ages, mainly because of what you mentioned earlier, because it all works with networking now. The websites with the job ads, well, there are a lot of them, but they were all in Finnish and not on my field and such. So at some point I was like, yeah, well, I cannot find the job, so I will just create my own job. And so this kind of job of a freelancer that I chose So yeah, it's that's also why I would also like to find some kind of part-time job in Finland to have some kind of more security, because yeah, in a way, this gig economy, it has some aspect for which it's easier, but it lacks the security of having an employer, regular salary, this kind of thing, you know?
It's just a phenomenon called like necessity entrepreneur. So it's quite well studied regarding the foreigners, that because they cannot enter the job market easily, then they are forced to open their own company and then look for these kind of gigs. So it's a big thing, it's a reality.
Yeah, but thankfully, one good thing is that in Finland, it's really easy to open your company. Anyone can do it. You go to this place, I don't know where they are now, they keep on moving, but they
Turku
will...
business region.
Yeah, exactly. Then they are like, yeah, we will help you. And I went there, I filled a paper. The following couple of days, I had my business registration number. My business was officially open. I could start working. It was super fast, super helpful.
And 60 euro.
Yeah, and you get this startiraha money that is very easy to get. Yeah, you get 500 euro per month for whole year. No matter if your company is doing well or not, you get the 500.
This for
700.
6 months. Then if you're doing too well, they cut you.
Yeah, but
oh my God, it's great.
you can
I
6
should
months.
do
You're
this
right,
for
but
the
you
podcast.
can renew it. Yeah, and it's so in a way they are kind of friendly with entrepreneur who just start, like in the beginning. They are really accompanying you, telling you, like for the foreigners, explaining you in English everything that you have to do, how to get the grants and the money, and it's
Every city has it, yeah.
What's the name of this?
Here in Turku, it's called Turku
Turku.
Business Region, and they are the business advisors. You likely talk to Peter Lonsweet.
Yeah, exactly.
She knows.
Yeah, and he was very friendly, and he told me that he regularly helps a lot of people, not only like me from EU, but also immigrants, former refugees. And actually, for some people, it's a good entrance doorway to Finnish work life. Like they start with this to integrate to the Finnish work culture, and then after that, they manage to find a work that that will be more
great.
secured. Yeah.
If you are interested, we actually have 2 webinars with Peter that we recorded for International Working Women of Finland about how to start to be an entrepreneur in Finland. So if you go in the YouTube channel of International Working Women of Finland, and we have a series of events called Empower Wednesday, because International Working Women was a bit too feminine, so we didn't want to scare guys away. Empower Wednesday was this series that it was funded mainly by Turku Business Region and the city of Turku, and which I created.
Bravo.
I was going to say bravo.
And we recorded all of them. So about the hidden jobs, about how to become an entrepreneur, about how to be a light entrepreneur as well. It's like a side gig, for example. So all these kind of topics are being recorded there, and they are free to see and check about what the best tips for your CVs or cover letter, a few LinkedIn training. So everything that can help, especially foreigners, to find a job. And we have a lot of foreigners it started in 2020, and we reached over 2,000 people. And a lot of people even coming from abroad, and they were interested in Finland, and they wanted to know about the reality of Finland, and they just come and follow our webinars. Usually we're a series of webinars, like 10, and we just finished now in March. Actually, in April, we did few this years about the video CVs are a big things in Finland when you want to apply for companies. And then we have a mentoring program as well to support. So
Is it free of access, all of it?
yes.
Wow.
So we will put the link in the description. Go find a job in Finland.
I love how there are so many resources for foreigners in Finland.
Yeah,
because
it's
you
great.
definitely don't get that much just from every country.
But you need to look for them also.
You know,
I
yeah.
think that's the difficult part. When you have just arrived to Turku, often you don't know where to look for info.
Yeah.
Talking about that, was the language a big problem for you when you arrived here?
Well, I actually downloaded an app on my phone so that I could learn some Swedish before coming. Swedish, not Finnish, because
You're
Swedish.
in Åbo
Yeah, Åbo.
Academy.
Well, that, and also Swedish looks more similar to English.
Smart.
So I can half the words. But yeah, I also know a friend here in Turku whose spouse moved to Turku with her, and I think he signed up for a language program that's sponsored by the government.
Yeah,
and
the
so
integration course.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
it's
a 9 to
great.
5 job, and at the end he got an internship program, and so that has really helped him settle in. And yeah, I wish resources like that were available everywhere.
So do you speak Swedish fluently now?
Don't ask questions that hurt.
Your whole work is in English.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay,
You
but
can ask him if he speaks Finnish fluently.
no, I don't. But, so your all work is in English, but still they required you some basics of Swedish or something.
No, not at this stage because I'm a postdoc, so my contract only lasts 3 years. In that case, I don't have to, but I really should.
Like all of us should
Yeah.
learn Finnish.
Yeah, because you, Lucia, you don't expressly need Finnish either in your work because you deal with, or maybe you do actually when you are in contact with a representative or like officials or something.
I should. I really should. It would be very helpful for me. And I applied even for a few jobs that I really loved, and they were required to support internationals. For example, from the city of Turku, and my lack of Finnish was a barrier for me to get into the job, even though I shouldn't have talked Finnish to my customers, but the meetings and the official language of the town, of course,
Yes.
they are still in Finnish, and it was a disadvantage. Or I've been invited to few conferences to talk about international women and the jobs and these kind of topics in like ministries, etc. And it happens that I was the only English speakers, and the rest
Yeah.
were speaking in Finnish, and that they would like, of course, provide me a translator, and I would answer in English, but it would have been better for me. But yeah, I blame my spouse.
Yeah, but
That's too easy.
actually-
That's too easy.
actually, that's a thing we struggle a lot with.
Yeah.
All of us who have friends, Finnish or Finnish friends or spouse or such, because they don't necessarily help.
I disagree.
With that.
I disagree.
Well, I think-
yours is not Finnish.
No, mine is Italian. No, but I'm thinking of friends. We have this friend who is learning French, and we can train with him in Finnish often, Jonas.
Yeah, there are a couple of people like that, but most of the people,
Yeah, in the shops they switch to English.
when they see or hear that you're
you need to be
foreigner,
discreet.
there are some domains in life for which lack of Finnish will be a great barrier. Like, for example, when I created my company, I had to ask the service of a tilitoimisto, what is it in English, accountant, a bookkeeper, the people who help you
I never
counting your money.
filled this.
the number people.
I don't have number. I don't have money.
Yeah. The people who look at how much you make and they tell
Yeah.
you which you have to pay taxes and such. And I'm super grateful that I found this accountant bookkeeping company that speaks English, because I couldn't imagine doing it myself. The service in English is very poor in Finland for that, and I couldn't imagine calculating my taxes and such in Finnish in the paper all the time. So in precise domains in life like that,
bank accounts,
lack of Finnish is a huge problem.
I wanted to ask you a bit as a conclusion. Do you have recommendations of things to do in Turku, or projects that people should check, or even just advice for people who are looking for a job or working in Finland? Maybe Lucia, you can start.
Well, self-promotion is, of course, join International Working Women of Finland. But seriously, if it's not International Working Women of Finland, which has chapters in every city, Turku included, there are so many other associations and activities that support you. So the feeling alone at home is not correct in any circumstances. If you're a job seeker, if you have a job and you just arrived, so seek for support and help. You're not alone. And you will find people like, for example, Turku Business Region help you, or
There was also Potkuri, but I don't
he
know if
changed the
it's...
name.
So it's part of Turku Business Region now?
Yes, used to be.
What is
Potkuri.
it?
It's the same thing. They just
okay.
changed
That
name,
help
rebranding.
you,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And the city of Turku itself has support for soft landing for international, for example. You can go there and ask advices. And the University of Turku, together with all the other university in the city, have these services that will help you if you want to start to study, for example, in English or any other language.
If you want to start, you don't need to
Yes.
be a student to begin with.
No.
Oh,
You
okay.
just go there and they help you, and they will advise you which courses you should take. Like, for example, you were saying at the beginning. So there is in Finland a structure to support international, either students, job seeker, mother staying at home. So whatever is your situation, you will find the right service of association, of group of people that they are able to support you.
You were mentioning also sometimes there are punctual events, like you were mentioning Boost before. We were saying how much it's not funded anymore by the government, but does it still exist?
It exists,
Boost.
but most likely they will not renew this
okay.
program. That's
Damn.
the thing.
Do you know of any similar thing?
Well, in every city in Finland, there are similar projects.
Okay.
So you just have to find, like, for example, in Tampere, there is Bloom.
Okay.
In Helsinki, there is like Maria 0.1 is a startup ecosystem where they support you in every needs that you have. So there are a lot of reality. Now, I don't have them all in my heads, but once you start to connect with people, then they will direct you to the necessary point of information. One of the reasons why International Working Women of Finland is so, I want to say, successful, because we have so many members, is because we provide information that people need. So are you unemployed? You can go and follow these courses for free, for example, at the shortcut, or those webinars are available. Are you a student and you're almost finishing and you want to start to connect? Which are the realities that you should follow and you should interact with? We do, for example, company visits. So if you're interested in that fields, you can come and talk with the company representatives and ask them, like, who are you looking for? What can I write my CV correctly to appeal to your HR people? So in every stage of your life, there is support. And this is fundamental, because we were talking in the beginning, the Finnish people can be perceived a bit as closed. So you don't really know how to interact with them. And you can feel isolated and don't know to whom ask for support. So be brave, ask for support. Support is there. You just need to find
And
it.
maybe look, I have a... keep an eye very closely on social media, because
Instagram.
on Instagram,
It's surprising.
Facebook, a lot of people still use Facebook. I thought people like Facebook had be...
I'm a boomer, so I use Facebook.
Yeah, but actually a lot of groups, like, you can find on Facebook, if you type on Facebook like job in Turku, and that's all, you already have like 5 groups.
Expat in
Expat in
Turku.
Turku.
They
Oh,
meet
I know
once a
them.
month, for example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, there's knowing the people and there's asking the questions.
Yeah, true.
One thing I find about working in Finland is that people assume you know
Yes.
all the time. And you don't know that you got into trouble until you got into trouble. and now you're asking the questions. So I would say always come prepared with a long list of questions. They may seem stupid, it doesn't matter. And bring them with you all the time.
You're right.
And you
It's a
feel
good
like you might
advice.
you feel like you might annoy them with your question, but actually people in general are quite happy to answer it and to help.
Yeah, like I said, sometimes they just don't know that you don't know because they've been in the system long enough. And my guess is that they don't usually hire foreigners that often.
It's a quite like, and I don't want to say new, but compared to other countries, like the foreigner, like the Swedish, for example, habits. There are not been so many foreigners, so it's a new trend still. Let's say, to say politely.
I wanted to ask you, and also, can you tell us a bit about the courses that you're going to give next year?
So I already taught the course last year. It was on literary journalism. It's basically based on my current book project. Last year, I invited an author to come she writes nonfiction. And so this coming year, probably, I will still be teaching that course. It's a 7-week course on narrative nonfiction / literary journalism. We start with 18th century travel writing. So we talk about that briefly. Then we'll move on to US in the 60s. And the final section, well, I'm from Hong Kong, so the final section is about Hong Kong.
Specialist.
But, you know, non-fictional qualities across the board, across cultures.
Okay, so if you are a student in Åbo Academy or in UTU, you can take the course.
If you dream of becoming a successful writer,
Of
then
non-fiction.
And write a memoir.
yeah, you should meet Anne.
Okay, Simon, a last suggestion. Don't know how to pronounce that word.
Well, to be honest, I would have the same suggestion as Lucia gave, like Turku business region. If you want to start a business,
Yeah, I
And,
discovered it today. It's great.
yeah, they are very helpful once again, and the social media really. LinkedIn is
A religion.
becoming a thing. Yeah,
It's crazy.
quite a thing, and Facebook, and just don't be afraid to type silly queries on Google, like work in Finland, and you find the stuff. And yeah, and once again, meet people, talk to people, meet people. They will know.
Yeah, I just will had some recommendations. I participated the Talent Boost program this year in Åbo Academy, but I also participated to Integrify, which is also integration program sponsored by Europe actually, and that was given in SparkUp. SparkUp is a place in Turku, sponsored by Turku Business Region, from what I understood.
Owned by Turku.
Owned. Okay, and inside we are. Like it's a place that promotes entrepreneurship, business, it's startups, etc.
Is it like, well, there's also a co-working place?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. You can come to have meetings, this kind of thing. Inside there are 2 business associations that are called Shift and Boost again. I really advise you to check what is happening in SparkUp. It's free. Most of the time it's in English. I think almost everything. Always in English. People are super nice there and super welcoming. If you want to learn more about business or startups, definitely advise to go there.
Yeah, I've been a speaker a couple of times.
Ah.
To their events. I want to, before I forget, we did a MOOC. So, you know what is a MOOC?
No.
Open Course University. She knew.
I know.
We did it in collaboration with Tampere and Turku Ammattikorkeakoulu. And in International Working Women of Finland, about how to find a job and integrate online.
Okay.
So because we were talking about remote, etc., so it's free, it's there. You can go and it will give you all the advices, like how you land a job, which kind of events you should follow, what is and how to network correctly online. So I really advise you to follow it. This is like sum up of all our knowledge about networking and digital networking in Finland. So what is a company culture, how to approach companies. So go there. I put a lot of blood and
Sweat.
and
Cheers.
in that course. So
Okay.
please.
Well, I think this episode will be more than 1 hour, but
It's
we learned a lot of stuff today. So thank you for coming,
Thank you for inviting us.
and
Thank you.
see you in the next episode.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, moikka.